this energy, where's all of this coming from?
I think that there was like a long time in which I was receiving a moderate amount of hate. And in my brain, I started to believe like, oh, well, if you check the right boxes and you say the right woke shit, or you say that's not going to get people offended or whatever, then you can avoid taking more heat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once this very large Marvel Cinematic Universe looking at this character, Jason Love, put his gigantic in my and the surrounding media storm, I think that made me realize that the job of a public figure, the job of a media person, of a personality who's seeking to make a career on YouTube or whatever, is not to minimize controversy. The goal is to live your truth in such a way that the people cannot look away.
Okay.
And I took so much heat from doing something that to me was a marketing tactic / something that me and my girl really actually were just down to do, that it left me incapable of feeling fear when it comes to other threats.
I feel you. Okay, so there's a difference there to me. So the thing that happened with you and Lena and the Jason Love thing, I didn't look at it as a big deal just because I'm a disgusting watcher, right?
Oh, okay.
So being a disgusting watcher, I know that there's kissing Johnny sins. I know that throughout the history of porn, there have been couples in porn and the couples work with other people. The only thing that I thought was interesting was that y'all weren't doing it and then y'all waited till after y'all married to do it, which is hilarious. That's funny.
I can definitely understand why that was very funny.
That's hysterical because that makes it seem like somebody went, I'll marry you if you let me fuck a black guy.
Oh, no.
Or either that you went, I'll marry you if you fuck a black guy.
No. In reality, we have been talking about it. I've seen
interviews prior to
we have been planning the wedding for like well over a year.
Okay.
We maybe started having that conversation like 4 or 5 months before the wedding. So it was, and to us, the wedding.
She said, I'll marry you, Italy, everything's good if like 10 days after the biggest in the world.
That was not part of this arrangement.
That wasn't at all?
No. It was not like I'll marry you because of this. Really, I was the one who never thought that I was going to get married because to me, I don't really see what's so important about it. I don't believe in God and I don't give a fuck about the government. So for them to be signing off on some aspect of my life,
it was important to her.
It's whatever. It's more important to her. Now, the thing with Jason Love, that's like a totally different plot line in our life because I mean, keep in mind, me and her had already done. If my goal was just to intertwine my life together with her so much that it would be very difficult to disentangle them. I mean, we already had a kid. We already bought a house together. We already got a business together. We already got accountants and shared employees and all this stuff.
So why not take the traditional step and put your lives together? You're saying that wasn't necessary to you, but it was important to her.
When I even proposed to her, it was really kind of like the realization that this was something that mattered to her. That and especially it became crystal clear to me after we had a kid. Oh, I really am planning on spending the rest of my life with this person and really building a future together. And I started to realize too that in her mind, she was always going to feel like she hadn't been properly honored as a woman and potentially because of her porn star status. Love? No, unless she got married. Unless I proposed to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to, okay.
She probably wasn't like, to her that was important.
So she wanted to be somebody's wife.
I think, yeah.
Okay.
That's an important
common
distinction in her world where she comes from a much more traditional, conservative Armenian culture.
I think that's
that
out
to
the
me
window,
is kind of different.
Conservative shit. I think.
And for sure, I am assuming that many of them know about this Jason Love arc and have not mentioned it to her or I. Sometimes I wonder what the conversations are like when we're not around.
Right. Or the conversations are in Armenian and they probably involve the N-word. But look, here's the.
Oh, Lord, we could get into that.
Like, here's the situation.
Never heard them say that, by the way.
I'm sure that her family's beautiful and lovely. I'm fucking around. But this is what I would say. One more question about that, because that was very fascinating. The whole thing was fascinating. I knew, obviously, with the space that you're in, that, letting somebody fuck your wife, that was going to be a thing, right? Or not letting somebody fuck your wife, because I'm sure she has agency in what she's going to do, but signing off on it.
I worked with her on choosing the guy. This was a conversation between her and I.
Let me ask you a question. So when you were choosing the guy that she was going to have sex with, was this we're choosing talent, or was this like did you like look at the different dicks as well?
No, I wasn't thinking about the actual measurements of the dicks.
Because I'm asking.
No,
some people would.
It was entirely based on who did the other girls in the industry that we know say is good to work with. And then also on top of that, who has a large social media following where it would actually stand out to people. Now, the resulting media storm was so gigantic that actually the social media profile of the guy involved really did not matter. It probably could have been any guy.
Were all of these guys black?
No.
How many of them were black?
I think we had 3 names and 2 were black and 1 was white.
Okay. Because you realize that if you and Lena are looking for somebody for her to have sex with, and y'all looking at like 10 black guys and like comparing their attributes, that feels like a fucking slave auction.
That's a good, I didn't think of that. Yeah. But the thing is, I feel kind of naive now.
Why?
Because I wasn't thinking, oh, it'll be way more viral if it's a black dude. Now, having seen how this played out, I'm like, oh, shit, that would have been a huge wasted opportunity if we had had a white guy do it, because the racial part of this storyline was a gigantic part.
America.
But that didn't really occur to me because
I don't believe you.
I wasn't thinking about it like that.
I do not, bro, this is another part of the white devil narrative.
And see, now you're making me feel even more naive because I
don't believe you.
Scour my text messages.
Bro, you let a nigga that looks like he plays middle linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens.
He could not play for the Ravens. Don't give him that.
Like he looks.
Maybe a couple of years ago.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you don't think with as culturally aware and educated as you are, you don't think that your wife fucking that guy is going to be a much bigger deal than
a white guy.
Yeah, the white dude.
In retrospect, I feel like an idiot for not thinking about that.
Okay. Last thing I'll ask about this, and then I'll come back to the actual point that I was making. When I was watching you and Lena talk to Andrew Tate, I saw that her mention that you had cheated on her.
Back in the day.
So in no way, the first thing that popped in my mind was she got to have sex with Jason Love because Adam cheated on her. And then she was like, fuck it. You got some other, so I'm going to go out here and do this. Was that a thing?
I think the last time I cheated on her was probably 2018.
Oh, so that's a long time ago.
It was not like retribution. So
it's
for
over.
That.
I mean, that don't count no more. That's like,
because me and her,
a 4-year thing.
Her doing that was a business decision. Now, having had this conversation with her, I realized that it really did hurt her feelings when I would cheat on her back in the day. The lying and everything.
But like, it's a huge betrayal, and we've been there. We want to treat our women more honorably.
Yeah.
And you know, so and to me, when I looked at it, and y'all had to deal. I actually said on the podcast, I was happy for you guys. Because I had heard her say before that it's something that she wanted to do. You guys get to a point, you do it, it's y'all business, whatever. That's the business y'all in. I think that is you. I think that's your truth. I think this other part is actually not your truth.
What, me acting boisterous?
I think that's not who you are, bro.
Really?
I don't think so. I think the Adam that you are is somebody, I think the true you is the other guy, the guy who was trying to figure out how to solve problems, the guy who was there for the conversation. I think that's what's made you so compelling. I think this part, I think it has a shelf life. I don't think people are responding to it like you think they are. I think it doesn't feel authentic.
I think it does. I think people are loving it. And even today, I've been talking a bunch of shit and people are going fucking crazy for it. Because you
guys in this fucking thing that you do, you confuse attention with adulation. I think that
I think I'm getting both.
I think right now, if you went out and shot yourself in the thigh, that people would be like, oh shit, Adam shot himself in the thigh, lying on no jumper, everybody tune in. It's me, Adam, on some shit. I'm headed to CSI now. Let's see if I bleed out before I get there. That's going up. Okay. But I think a lot of people that would be engaging with you would be saying, this motherfucker's stupid.
There has been multiple times throughout this whole cuck arc that me and Lena have embarked on. I call it the cuck arc, since I don't have to call it like the Jason Love BBC thing every time. I just call it the cuck arc. So there's been a couple different moments where I either did something or thought about doing something that betrayed who I actually am or what I actually have going on. And one moment that I later on felt kind of dirty about was when I was having the conversation with, I think, Aiden Ross, and I said something about like, Aiden, you know, we should really have a threesome, me, you, and Lena, yada, yada. And that doesn't seem like anything super out of the ordinary for the kind of conversations that I was having around that time. But later on that night, I felt kind of dirty about it. And I said to her, I'm like, you want to know why I didn't like that? Is because all of the other viral shit that I've said, when I talked about how much I love you and I love you so much that I was still okay with you doing this scene with Jason, et cetera, that was all real. I might have been saying it in a kind of ridiculous way. I might have been hamming it up and making it more trollish and making it sound a little ridiculous. But at the end of the day, that is true. The thing with me offering up my girl is if we're going to have a threesome with Aiden Ross.
You don't want to do that.
That's a joke. And when I say it, though, the problem is that people take that and think, oh, look, he really actually has no respect for his wife. So I decided that I wanted to fall back on that because anything that I say or do that betrays how I actually feel, I do agree is not worth it.